Hi, my name is Nick, and this is my video about thermostats. Right now it's getting cold, it's end of October, and this might be a good video for you to watch because it could save you a lot of money in case you have a heating problem, or you might even get in a situation that knowing a little bit about your heating could actually save your life if you get into a situation where it's extremely cold and you don't have access to any help. This could actually be something that could be really valuable to know. Today we're going to talk about basically thermostats that have to do with heating. So we have different kinds. We've got the basic here, real simple, cheapo, just goes on and off. It doesn't have any switch. And then we have ones that actually have a switch, like this one. Okay, so this one has an on-off switch here, and the important thing to remember about this is that if you don't realize it's in the off position, or you forget it's in the off position and you're trying to get it to work, you might think your thermostat is not working, but it might be working just fine. So keep in mind, look if there is an on and off. A lot of times they're in the front or on the side here, so that's one good thing to know. And then also we have our digital, which basically if it doesn't work the way it's supposed to be, it just starts acting erratic, or you don't see the numbers here that are supposed to be in the window, which this one doesn't because it doesn't have batteries. You've got to change the batteries. So those will not work properly if the batteries are not in there. So we're not going to talk about those today. Those are not really relevant to what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the basic thermostat, which I will show you. This is the guts, and I'll get into that in a minute. And then we have here the secret thermostat. This is the one that gets my vote for the greatest thermostat of all time, which I will reveal by the end of the video. Okay, so the way we used to heat ourselves, for the caveman or cavewoman used to heat themselves, is put wood on the fire, anything that burned, and when it got cold, they put some more, and they just kept it going until they, that was all they needed. But then, as we moved into the modern age, they invented valves that control the amount of flow of natural gas, and so then we had to come up with a way to turn on and off. So like the light, your light in your room, when you walk in, you want the light on, you turn it on. You want it off, you turn it off. But once you get the heating going, how do you turn it off? Right? I mean, it's just going to keep going and going and going. So they came up with a thermostat. They came up with some very interesting idea, very simple but ingenious for the time, that just basically worked on physics. So your thermostat here has two dials. I'll show you here. You have two dials, okay? You've got one dial here. This dial moves by itself. You cannot control this dial. This dial is controlled by the ambient temperature. Ambient means the air around you, the temperature around you. So this moves by itself, and this one you control by hand. This is the one that you set. This is called your set temperature. So how does this thing move? How do these things talk to each other? Okay, this tells me it's 70 degrees in the room, but I want it to be 75. So why will my heating go on and why it won't? Well, first of all, I have to make sure, since this has a switch, that it's in the on position and the heating position. That's the first thing you got to make sure. But let's assume that it's there. Okay, so what they discovered is that metals expand and contract with based on temperature. So this thing right here, which is the same as this dial, is actually a piece of metal that expands and contracts. There you can see it. Expands and contracts based on the temperature. So as the temperature, as it gets hotter, this thing moves towards the higher temperature, 75, because it's expanding, right? It's a little coiled and it's expanding. It's colder, it contracts. So then thing moves to a lower temperature, all right? So if you look in the back of here, now if you pull your thermostat off the wire, you'll see in the back of here that you have a R, there's your R, and there's your W. Now, your thermostat wire, you might see this with a whole bunch of colors, But you're not concerned with that. You're only concerned with the white and the red wire, which is right here. Okay, there's your red wire. So what you're going to do is, when you see there, you're going to see that your white wire is connected to the W and the red wire is connected to the R. Now, if your heating is not working, for instance, and you want to find out, maybe it's your thermostat. Here's a way how you save yourself a lot of money. Take your white wire and your red wire that was connected here, disconnected, and put them together, and voila, your heating goes on. Only problem, it's not going to go off until you separate it. But if you're in a situation where you're in a cabin and your heating goes out in the middle of the night, or you can't in the day, and you can't get through the snow to get to Home Depot or anybody to help you, it might be a good thing to know. You might be the hero of the family by just putting the R and the W together until you can actually get yourself a thermostat that works. So how does this thing talk to this thing? So what happens is, okay, you got your red connected here and your W connected here. So I'll illustrate. All right, let's say this is your whoops, sorry, I'm gonna get this microphone wire out of the way. Let's say this is your red wire, this is your red terminal, and this is your white terminal. Now this one does not expand or contract, it just stays in one position. But this one contracts and expands based on the temperature. So as it gets colder, it gets stiffer, but as it gets warmer, it gets softer and bends, and then it touches the other wire, so the other terminal. So now you're in effect having these two wires touch. And what happens is, as the temperature gets cooler, or the set temperature matches this one, then this thing expands. And then it breaks the connection and stops your heat. So the way this works is, when you're at 70 degrees and you want it to be 75, the heating will go on. As soon as this thing goes to 75, it'll turn off. Conversely, the opposite. And that's basically how your thermostat works. Now, let's go to the world's greatest thermostat of all time. Is going to be right here, if I can find it. There we go. Okay, it was in the secret bag. This was probably in your grandmother's house, put in back in the 50s. It did not use any hazardous materials. There's no mercury in this. Basically just work with the principles I told you about. There's one metal which basically expands and contracts with the room temperature, and there's two metals in here. So this is your room temperature, and this is the set temperature that you put it at. And that's basically how this one works. And I've removed tons of these, and they still work, and they probably will work forever, whoever still has them on their wall. Anyways, if you need to get a hold of us, you can go to our Facebook page, and it would be great if you like our Facebook, if you give us a nice big like on our Facebook page, which is A1 Industrial Heating and Cooling, or you can go to our website, which is floorheatersla.com. Thank you for watching this video, and probably we'll have a video coming up on how to choose your thermostat for your own particular needs. Thank you for watching, and have a great winter.